It's time to take command with former NFL tight end Logan Paulsen and former Commanders beat reporter Craig Hoffman.
Take 5, story time. Craig Hoffman, Logan Paulsen here for the story time Thursday edition of Take 5 or Friday, whatever day this is. I don't know, Logan. They're all mushing. We finally got ourselves sorted after the short week, and then now we're mushed back together again. Here's what I know. For this podcast, we take a look at the opponent and we tell some stories about our time either covering games at that place or playing at that place, or in Logan's case, playing in that place. It's Logan Paulsen Bowl number 2 of the season, where you went and played for Dan Quinn's Atlanta Falcons, not with Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator, as many people would probably think, because Kyle had already left for Chicago. You were there under Steve Sarkisian. How'd you wind up in Atlanta?
Sark, yeah. So I had just finished up my time in San Francisco, and I was kind of like, doesn't look good for old Logan. You know, I was like 32 years old, and I was up in Detroit, and I had a meeting with Matt Patricia, and I was like, this is not the business. Like, so I might have to just think about hanging it up, because he was very nice. He was very personable in the meeting. But I just remember thinking, like, this is going to be miserable, because he comes from that New England thing. And like, as we're driving from the airport to the practice facility, it was like kind of this bleak day. And I was like, this is going to be my future. I'm going to hate my life. And then I was like, and then they didn't sign me. So I was like, okay, maybe I dodged a bullet. Maybe it's time to be done playing football, whatever. And then I got a call from Atlanta. Morgs was the guy. He was the assistant line coach here when I was here. And he was like, come on down. And so I went down for a meeting, and it was like a totally different vibe. It was like a beautiful day, beautiful facility. Dan Quinn is like the most dynamic, kind human being. And you're just like, this feels way better. And they're like, they want to sign you. And then it was like a little bit of a bidding war air quotes, because it's like, how much, like a pack of peanuts for the signing bonus. But bidding war between the two organizations to get me there. And I was like, I'm definitely not going to Detroit. So like, let's make this Atlanta thing happen. So that's how I ended up in Atlanta.
Nice. And then how was the experience that year? What turned out to be your final year?
Well, that was my final year in Atlanta, and then I went to Houston for a little bit. So we can talk about Houston stories when we get to Houston. Yeah. But the one thing about that is that was the first time I'd ever played with like a high-powered quarterback, right? Like, I guess a guy who's like probably top 10, top 12 in the NFL guy, potential Hall of Fame type guy. Like, I played with Jay Cutler, who was very different. I played with Deshaun afterwards, but Matt was very different. And so how he operated was really fun to watch there, right? Because he'd get there early on. Monday he'd be there, Tuesday he'd be there early. Him and Matt Schaub used to walk around the building together, kind of building the game plan out. And I remember it was probably like week 2. It was very early in the season. And we're in the middle of a meeting, and Sark's installing a play, Steve Sarkisian, who was an awesome guy, by the way, very nice dude, like smart football guy. He's installing the plays. We're going through it. I'm making my notes. And all of a sudden Matt goes, hey, go back. And everyone's like, gets all quiet and weird. And Sark goes, go back to what? He's like, go back to that previous play. So he turns the page over. He's like, I thought we took that out. He's like, oh, well, this kind of goes with this other thing. And he goes, no, we took it out. And then Sark's like, okay. And he just takes the page and just throws it off. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so that was like the first time I'd seen that happen. But that happened every week. He was like, Matt would just be like, that's out. And Sark was like, what? And Sark's like, that's out. And so to see a guy with that kind of control as a player over the offense was really, really interesting to me, because it was like, does Sark need, it was like one of those things, does Sark need a stronger offensive perspective, or is that the right way to handle it in terms of appealing to the best player on your offense or one of the better players on your offense? So that was
when that player is a quarterback.
Correct. That was a really interesting dynamic. And one of the things where like I think about how Kyle would have handled it. And I remember talking to Matt. I think I mentioned that on the show where, where like Matt was like, Kyle would never do that. And just where that offensive perspective comes in, because I was like, I never had been around anybody who could just tell a coach like, hey, we're not doing that. That's out. And just like cut that out. So that was a really kind of eye-opening experience for me about like the power structure of those elite quarterbacks. You hear stories, but to see it firsthand is something completely different. And Matt was not a bad guy. He wasn't like mean about it, but he just like, I don't believe in that play. take that crap out. So
my Atlanta story is just to tell you that all the press members will be very happy to be going to Atlanta because it is probably the nicest press box in the league. The food is fantastic. I don't know if they do this because we were there for a preseason game when I was on the beat. And so it was actually the Jordan Reed concussion game where like everybody's like, Jordan Reed is back. And then he got smashed by,
was that in the preseason that happened?
Yeah, it was the third preseason
right?
game. And it was like on a drive that he probably should have not been playing anymore. And you're like, son of a gun.
He worked so hard. It was like right over the middle, right?
I wouldn't say it was a good hit. I would say it was a pretty dirty hit, actually.
No, but I'm saying it was like
the contact was.
Yeah, the contact was good, is what I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah, the contact was very, very solid. And I just remember walking out of the stadium that night being like, this season is going to be bad. And boy, was I right, because that was 2019. Jay turned out to be Jay's last year and kind of ended that night in a lot of ways because Jordan was so essential to that offense. But yeah, man, it was the press box food was incredible. They bring Chick-fil-A at halftime. Again, I don't know if that happens on Sunday games because Chick-fil-A doesn't do Sundays. But they have like a Carvel ice cream machine in the press box. And the spread is incredible. So yeah, all the press members will be very happy Sunday.
You had like softball previewed this story when you started, and I've never seen our producer William like so excited about it. He's like, "Oh my gosh, the food is so good!" So you like,
real good.
I feel like between your like very measured description of what a nice press box food is and Will's like maybe this is like a 5-star restaurant. It's hard to know exactly where this line.
Oh no, there's like they also have like that's just like kind of the extra stuff, like the Chick-fil-A and the Carvel, whatever. Like the actual food that they put out for the spread is very good. I don't think it's the best in the league, but it's very good. And the press box in general is very, very nice, which is something everyone definitely cares about in the same exact level as your Matt Ryan stories. Sometimes I just put myself in my place. All right, that's Logan. I'm Craig. We will see you Sunday at Tap Sports Bar for the Take Command pregame show. Have a great weekend until then.
Thanks for watching this clip of Take Command. First, why don't you like it? It lets other people know that it was good, and then they should watch it too. And Logan, we have a new exclusive home for full episodes.
We do. 1067 The Fans YouTube page. Go check it out and please subscribe.
Yeah, do what Logan said.
Do it.
Very, very smart.